Joined here by Ann Colocioppo, who's the editor of the Denver Post. This has been a momentous week in the life of the paper. You guys are preparing for a move of most of your staff out to the suburbs, and you're asking digital readers to pay for what they're reading online.
Yes.
What's today been like on the inside, or this week rather?
We're excited. We've been planning to have this digital subscription model for months now, and to finally get it up and begin to see how people are reacting and get to see that people are actually willing to subscribe for our online content and watch it in real time has been fun to do. You plan and plan and plan, and then you finally get to hit the go button. And of course, meanwhile, we are packing boxes, so that's been a difficult part of it, but we're ready for a new start.
Your staff has been pretty candid about how tough it's been for them to move out of the heart of the city. How will you guys hold on to, I'm sure the Post views itself as the voice of the city in a lot of ways. How do you hold on to that if you're in the suburbs?
Well, remember, we're not too far out of downtown. We're not maybe even that much further than you are right here where we're sitting right at this moment. We're right there at 58th and Washington. You can see downtown, can be downtown in 5 minutes. And it's not like, as the Denver Post, we cover just downtown Denver. We cover the entire metro area, the entire state. And so to us, we still have some people posted downtown, right there, right next door to our current building. And we feel like we can do our work from wherever we're located. We have cars and phones and all of the tools to be where we need to be. It's just been a little bit, it's fun to be downtown. It's fun to walk and feel that vibrancy of downtown Denver. So we will miss that for sure.
And there's the symbolism of it too, the idea of truly being down there and being at the center of it all. I want to ask you about the move to the digital paywall. You guys are bringing this back.
Correct.
After a few years away.
Correct.
What's changed?
Well, for one thing, digital subscription model, which is how we typically refer to it as, is a lot more common at newspapers than it was when we did it the first time. And the dynamics of the business have changed. The economics of it have changed. When we had the paywall up before, you could still make pretty good money out of digital advertising. And that has really changed a lot. There's more and more businesses scrapping from fewer and fewer dollars, and it just doesn't pay what it used to. So it just makes it more economically feasible to try it right now. We've seen that it's been very successful for other newspapers who have tried it. There's a lot more insight into what works and what doesn't. Then you almost flew blind. Now we can really see what readers are looking for, what they're willing to pay for, what stories interest them, and we can use that to guide a lot of our decision making.
I know you're not going to give me a number, but I'm curious, have the bean counters told you this is the number of digital subscribers you guys have to hit on this, or is this more of just a, let's put it out there and see what we get?
We've set goals for ourselves, like we do on everything, and we have some ideas based on the size of this market, the number of people who read us, which is a lot, 7 million users a month. So we know how many of those people read us multiple times a day, multiple times a month. So using that and looking at how other papers have succeeded, we know where we ought to be. And that's been more how it has been set. It wasn't so much the bean counters, it's just, gave us a number as we looked at what we thought we should accomplish and set our own goals.
Also this week, the publisher of the paper, Tully, departed. And he said in his goodbye letter to staff, among other things, that this is the year in which the crossover happens, in which you're making more money off of online than you are off the physical paper.
Correct.
Is that terrifying? I mean, it's both encouraging and kind of scary, is it not?
It is. The hard newspaper, which we still love, I still love it. I get it every day on somewhere on my grass usually, is in many ways the heart and soul of who we are. So when that isn't bringing in all the money, that's a little bit scary. On the other hand, we've been working toward this crossover for years, literally for years, getting to the point where the money that we see as basically the future becomes our driving force, and so that we become less and less reliant on the print product.
Do you foresee a scenario where the Denver Post, like so many other newspapers, is no longer a print paper 7 days a week?
I think that most reasonable people would say that sometime, somewhere out there, the print product as we know it won't be like it is now, but I don't think it's anything imminent for us. It's still a critical part of who we are and of our place in this state, and it's still popular with hundreds of thousands of readers. It's not like we've got 10,000 people looking at it. It's hundreds of thousands. So as long as we've got a good customer base that wants that really well curated, well edited product, we want to provide it.
When I talk to people in town who are hungry for local journalism, I hear them talking about a vicious cycle that I think a lot of journalists know about, but maybe people on the outside don't know about. They say, I used to love the Post because there were so many more writers and so many more things going on, and then it got smaller and smaller, and I want the old model back. I want the old paper back. What can you say to those folks?
Me too. I want it back too, but it's just not where we are. And it's not just the Denver Post that's in this situation. The problem, the economics facing newspapers, it's across regional newspapers in every city in this country. We're all in this, we're all trying to get through this together. We're all kind of going through the same thing. We're all looking for answers. Meanwhile, what we've had to do is look and say, this is what's most important to us. This is our core mission. These are the things that we really, as a newspaper, want to accomplish. And that includes, of course, holding government accountable, exposing things people don't want told, telling the amazing stories of the people who live here, those sort of core parts. And there's fewer of us doing it, but the commitment is still the same. And I think despite it all, we're just blessed with a staff that's heart is really in it. And you see it when they talk about how much they are rooting for this new model to work and why, and sharing the kind of work that we've done and the difference we've made in this state.
It's very in vogue these days to dislike the news media. There is a special antipathy, though, that some people in Colorado seem to have for the Post. Do you get that? Is that a new thing? It seems so unseemly to me to be rooting for the demise of a local institution, but you know that there is a certain segment of the population that is.
There's a crabby segment of the population that roots for the demise of anything, right? It could be the Post, it could be your show.
Sure.
There's just folks out there who talk that way, and we hear from them naturally. We heard from them when the Rocky Mountain News was closing. Again, I don't think that's particular to the Denver Post. I spend a lot of time looking at other newspapers and what people say about other newspapers, and you see it. You really do see it everywhere. It's partly an anti-mass media sentiment, or people who are just angry. Yesterday we got nasty letters about the same newspaper from somebody who really the same story, talking about I guess it might have been the Women's March story, saying that proves that you are too conservative and you're too liberal. Same day, same newspaper. So you just kind of end up in that's what happens when you have a big voice and a big presence. Sometimes you just become the target of attacks.
Let me ask you about one specific critique that I think is really worth discussing. For the people who are looking at subscription models for journalism out there and saying, I'm willing to pay some money and I want great value in return. New York Times has a subscription model. Washington Post has a subscription model. You can get both of those really robust papers with huge staffs and a lot of content for basically the same or less money than people would pay for the Post. How did you guys come to the determination that $11.99 a month for the digital subscription is a fair price for the Post? Was there any consideration given to, you know what, we can't match the breadth and volume of these big national papers, so we should be charging less?
Well, there's really, oddly, not a lot of research that indicates that pricing point is going to be a problem. So we looked not so much at what the Washington Post and New York Times do, but again at what other regional newspapers are doing, and we can see where they've priced and the kind of success they're having. Some of them are smaller than we are and priced in that same, some are bigger. It's really a matter of saying, to produce a local newspaper, a robust news report is going to cost this amount of money. This amount of money we can get from advertising, this amount of money we can get from print, and now we will seek to get this amount from the people who have frankly been able to enjoy this very work for free. and we came to it that way. And the other part is there is actually a reduced price if you get the Sunday paper on top of it. So it's in like $7.58, I think, if you subscribe to the Sunday newspaper premium there.
What happens if this doesn't work?
Then we'll figure out something else, but we have every reason to believe this will work. This has been working in other markets. Other markets, very much like us, have seen success. We actually are probably better positioned for success than some other newspapers. We're just blessed in Colorado with a very educated, news-savvy population that reads news, reads lots of news, and so we feel really good about it.
I've tried to sum up this week for folks what I think would be lost if the Post were to be severely diminished from where it is now or go away entirely. What do you think that Colorado would lose if the Post shrinks to a shadow of its current size or goes away?
You look at all the various kinds of stories that we've done, and it takes for a city to be healthy. You need a diverse news environment. You need successful TV stations. You need a successful newspaper. You need people who are willing and have the resources to go to court and pay the money it takes to go fight a Cora battle and to sift through the thousands of pages of documents that might be in a report that nobody else wants to do to find that nugget of information that says this went wrong in the way our state was governed. And you just can't get that from a small independent organization that's trying to do so many things. And there's just a depth and a sophistication to the reporting that you get at a newspaper that nobody else can bring. And when you lose it, you lose projects like our Colorado Divide project that spent the whole year helping us understand each other, rural Colorado and urban Colorado. You miss the reporting that gets done that we did around the Firestone explosion and what is really known about the gas lines that are running under this state. That took hours and hours and hours of work to start digging through those documents and find the right people, and that's what you would lose.
One last question for you. I know as somebody who works in journalism at a proud legacy media outlet at 9 News, at a time of great tumult and change, that it weighs on me personally very heavy that I don't want to be the person here when this goes sideways, and that I would carry that around with me forever.
Right.
That must weigh on you personally as the first woman to lead the Post at a time of all of this chaos and change in the industry, that you don't want it going down on your watch.
That's correct. I mean, I think that, and anybody who works with me knows how strongly I feel about this, that I consider it my core job to make sure that this newspaper is here for the editor who takes over after me and the one who takes over after them. Of course, I'm from here. I grew up here in Denver. I got into journalism reading the Denver Post, so it's sort of just been a part of me from the beginning, and it would break my heart if anything didn't happen to it. And it's not enough for me to keep it where it is right now either. I want us to be so successful we can start to rebuild and begin adding staff and adding some of the features that people miss that have disappeared from the paper.
You're not satisfied with the state of things today. What, your staff is probably a third of what it was at its peak?
Probably.
Smaller than that?
About a third, I think.
About a third. So you're thinking maybe usher in growth someday.
I would love to usher in growth sooner rather than later.
Okay. Thank you for coming by to have the conversation. I appreciate it. And good luck with the next couple of months. Seems like they will be kind of crucial.
I think so. Thank you for having me.